So, who do you guys have for MVP this season?
I think there's five guys that can realistically win it this season.
So,
Five?
so who's your
Yeah,
number
I'd
one?
agree with that.
I got Jokic number one. I mean, I think he's clearly the front runner this season. I mean, coming into this, we had the episode where me and Brandon recorded it, and we're talking about our MVP predictions. And I think Brandon, I said to you literally word for word, Jokic would have to be the one seed, average close to a triple double on like league leading true shooting for him to even be considered for MVP.
And he's
And
done all that.
he's done all of those. He's averaging 25, 12, and 10 on a league leading 70.3% true shooting on the second best offense in the league, the one seed in the West, which is just insane. So, I mean, what do you think about Jokic?
I mean, I think he's got a case for being the first three-time in a row MVP since Bird, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, it's just funny to watch. Like, you go into the season and he's like, if he has the same season as he did last year, he probably doesn't win again. But then he comes out and has an even better season. Isn't he averaging a triple double right now?
Yep,
Yeah,
25, 12, and 10.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Plus, he's in the harder West, which I think we can all agree is the harder conference.
Oh,
hmm
absolutely. It's much deeper.
Yeah. And like I remember in the episode we were like doing standing predictions and we were saying, "Oh, it's going to be a super close race this year."
Mm-hmm.
The Nuggets are what, 6 games ahead?
Yeah, they're clearly the best team in the West right now.
What about
Very
you,
large difference
Ruff?
between them and everyone else.
yeah.
Rafa?
His efficiency has jumped up so much. I did not. It jumped up like almost like 20%. So his efficiency is crazy. His shot taking has gone down a little bit, but I mean he made up for it by getting like two, three more assists from last year. He's definitely the front runner right now, but I think it's a lot closer than people make it out to be.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think anyone can win it still, but right
Mm-hmm.
now the clear
Mm-hmm.
favorite is Jokic. I mean,
Yeah.
like you're saying from last year, he was shooting 34% from three last year, 65% from two. And this year he upped it to 67% from two and 40% from three. So that's from
Jesus.
66 true shooting to 70% true shooting, which, like you said, huge efficiency increase. And he's getting two more assists per game. So his offensive game has taken it up another level. And he was already the best offensive player in the league last year.
Yeah, and only three and
Right.
a half turnovers for a guy
Mm-hmm.
who handles the ball that much is actually really good.
Yeah. And especially a big man who's like posting up and stuff, even through the double teams, he's not turning the ball over.
Some of the Nuggets' success could also be like can like be Jamal Murray is back. He's been all right,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's mostly been Jokic.
Yeah, I mean, you picked up Aaron Gordon at the trade deadline last season, so obviously he's not going
Mm-hmm.
to gel until coming into this season. And then you get MPJ back and Jamal Murray back, which all of those things are big improvements. But at the same time, coming into the season, I was skeptical that MPJ and Murray would be able to join the team and the team function as well as it did last year because it's just new pieces coming in, right? And I
Yeah.
think a big part of why they're working so well at the second best offense is Jokic. Like you can't really take any of that credit away from him.
I know we're talking about
Yeah.
MVP, but I don't want to get too off topic. But we see these Denver teams, they look super good in the regular season, and then they get in the playoffs and they kind of fall apart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Do
I
you
mean,
guys kind of see that happening, or do you think Jokic is going to finally break through
what do
to
you
the
think,
finals
Bradley?
even?
Um, I think yeah, for right now, I think in their conference, there's not many teams, if any, that really can stop them. I think they really have definitely just the best shot at making it all the way. What about you
Absolutely.
guys? What do you think?
I mean, you look at Giannis, right? 2019, 2020 MVP, and both times he got kind of out game planned in the playoffs, and that was a huge part of why people were talking about voter fatigue going into the 2021 playoffs. And I think people are kind of being like misleading when they say that Jokic doesn't have any voter fatigue because he clearly does. Like when people coming into the season, nobody wanted to give him the third MVP. It's just that the showing in the regular season has been so dominant that you can't argue against it. And if he gets completely shut down in this playoffs and gets played off the floor because of defense or something, then I think next season you're gonna have a lot more of that talk where like you really can't
Mhm.
give him more MVPs until he shows out in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, you can't expect him to do much with his injured team last year
I
going
mean,
against the
yeah,
champs.
last year was very difficult.
And the year before that was, I believe, the bubble where he did a double 3-1 comeback and then lost in 5 to the champs.
No, the year before
So,
that was he lost to the Suns, who made the finals.
oh, right, right,
They
right.
got
Sorry, I was
swept,
thinking of the year before that.
but I think that was
Yeah,
also the year that wasn't Jamal Murray injured in that series too.
I think, yeah, he wasn't
I
there.
might be misremembering it, but they beat the Blazers in the first round, I think.
Mm-hmm.
In
The Nuggets?
7, yeah, Nuggets beat the Blazers in the first round that year.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
then
yeah, yeah.
was Warriors
That was a
first
great
round or
series.
was that semis last year?
Warriors was first round. So yeah, I think the only playoff loss you can even hold against Jokic right now is the Suns series, and even that one, I mean, it's not entirely his fault. He's missing his second best player.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So I don't think the playoff disappointments have been significant for Jokic yet. So I don't think he's got that going against him as of yet.
Plus, like the last time we saw like a fully healthy team, which was a much younger MPJ. They didn't have Aaron Gordon yet. They had other pieces,
Mm-hmm.
but they made it to the conference finals and put up a decent
Yep.
showing against the Lakers.
Oh, absolutely. I'd say they played the Lakers the second best out of any team that year. Yeah.
Who was the best?
Well, Miami took
Oh
2
yeah,
games
oh
off
yeah,
him.
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that sums up Jokic's case pretty well. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry,
Yeah.
right? He's got the third best net rating in the league. The Nuggets are the 11th best defense, which I don't think much of can be credited to Jokic because, I mean, talk about stats all you want for defense. Just looking at him play, you can tell that he's not impacting the defensive side of the ball that much, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
But their net rating is still great. So,
But if we're talking about defensive side of the ball, I think Banu alluded to him earlier, but Giannis is probably my
Mhm.
number 2.
Mhm.
I don't
And
know
why
who
would that be?
is. I mean, I think technically they have a better record than the Nuggets right now.
I believe so. Yeah, I think the
Oh,
Bucks are the best record in the league.
same wins, but Nuggets have played one less game, so they have one less loss.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, he's just doing it on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, Giannis is putting up 31, 12, and 5 on 58% from 2. But the only reason that Giannis wouldn't be my front runner right now is that his efficiency has been really lacking this year. He's shooting at 59.7% true shooting, which is below his career average, and it's the lowest of his last 5 seasons. So offensively, Giannis has been a little bit, I don't want to say subpar because he's averaging 31 points per game, but he's not nearly the offensive player that Jokic is,
Well,
which
he's
is why the
also
defense.
sorry, I
Go
didn't mean
ahead.
to cut you off. No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
He's
I
also
was
like
done.
carrying a much bigger load right now,
Yeah.
Mhm.
which can kind
I
of
s-
be
it's very impressive that he's
the efficiency.
the first seed without having his like second best player. I mean, a few of the other players have stepped up. Like Brook Lopez is playing amazing, but also Giannis is still having a better season than he did last year without having his second best player. So it's still really impressive.
Well, plus
That's true.
Giannis last year had to be more of a 5 most of the
Mhm.
season because Brook was out for the whole season. Maybe like the last 5 games he came back.
Yeah.
But like with Brook there, Brook's like finally going back in, so Giannis can play more on the perimeter.
Hmm.
But there still is no Chris Middleton did come back recently, but he
Yeah,
hasn't
he's been
Yeah.
in and out of
really
the
played.
lineup the whole season.
Mhm.
Drew though, shout out Drew Holiday, one of my favorite players. He's been balling out this season.
He
Also,
has,
Drew.
yeah.
He's actually my number
And
3 on MVP.
uh, yeah, I mean, you're right. It is definitely impressive that Giannis is the 1 seed right now, which is amazing considering he's been missing Chris Middleton almost the entire season. So yeah, he's carrying that offensive load. And the Bucks are the third best defense in the league, which you see like last year without Brook Lopez and Giannis having to play that 5, like you said, their defense wasn't that good. And as soon as Giannis is back to that kind of free safety role, their defense is incredible. And yeah, I mean, he's definitely one of the best defenders in the league right now.
Yeah, when he's out on that perimeter, it's really hard to get in.
Mm-hmm.
Do you
Can't get
guys
by him.
see a scenario where Giannis can jump Jokic?
Absolutely. I think.
Yeah, I mean,
Go ahead.
they just had a 17, 18 game win streak, and they like jumped up from I think they were the 3 seed or the 2 seed all the way up to the one seed now. If they have another crazy win streak like that, I can easily see him beating Jokic.
Yeah. I think Giannis is very, very close to Jokic right now. I think the main things that he needs in his argument are to string a couple wins together again after this recent win streak just got broken. And the most
Mhm.
important thing is, I think his team's offense needs to get a little bit better with Chris Middleton coming back. Because right now they're only the 15th best offense in the league. And they are the third best defense, but their net rating is actually worse than the Nuggets. The Nuggets have a 4.6 and the Bucks have a 4.0. So
Really?
even with how good Giannis is on defense, it's not quite enough to make up for his team as a whole's somewhat subpar offense. And so I
Mm.
think to really get that like clear MVP case, I mean, obviously as a case, to get the win, he needs to get his offensive level up a little bit to be able to win that MVP.
Yeah, which I think is really possible with Middleton coming back more and more into the lineup.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And people have been mentioning games played as an argument. And I don't really see that because Jokic has played 56, Giannis 51, Embiid 50, Luka 54, and Tatum 60. So everyone's played right about the same amount of games within 5 of each other or so. So I don't think games played is
Mhm.
going to make any difference this MVP.
Looking at strength of schedule remaining, I just thought about this. The Denver Nuggets actually have the 23rd hardest schedule. So they have a
Mm.
relatively easy schedule to
Mhm.
for the rest of the season. While like the Bucks have like the it's right in the middle, 15. Um, you guys see that playing into anything? If Jokic comes out and Denver wins these easy games and he puts up the same numbers, is it kind of inevitable that Jokic is gonna win?
I
Yeah, I
think
think
if
so.
I think if how
Mhm.
many games do the Nuggets have left? Like about 20 games or so. Games. I don't think there's any way they can that Jokic can lose that MVP. He'd just have
Especially
too dominant of
since
a performance.
Yeah, especially since as the season keeps going on, his assist numbers keep going up and up. So he started
Mhm.
out at like 8, he's making his way up to 10. He might even make it to 11 by the end of the season. Who knows? So
Yeah, he's at 10.0 right now.
mhm.
And I mean, if he gets that triple double, obviously, like basketball wise, it's meaningless. But narrative wise, I mean, you've only had two players ever average a triple double for a season: Oscar Robertson and Russell Westbrook,
Yeah,
right?
and to be
And
a center.
exactly, yeah, that's historic. And so I think that's a really big factor as well.
Nah, man, he's stat pad.
Stat padding wins.
Bro, he threw a pass to an open 3-point shooter. He's stat padding.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, okay, we talk about Jokic, who's kind of an extreme offensive savant, but defensive kind of a liability. And then we have Giannis, who's putting up great offensive numbers in terms of volume, but efficiency wise, he's not too great. And he's incredible. Yeah, so Embiid's kind of in between them, where he's got a very good offense that's not quite as good as Jokic's, and a very good defense that's not quite as good as Giannis's. So where do you guys think that fits in?
I'd have Embiid as my 3 or my 4. I really haven't decided yet.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's played the least amount of games of all the guys we're talking about.
Yes, 50 games.
Ooh, is he
One less than Giannis, six less than Jokic.
okay? Here, let me pull up the Sixers. The Sixers
While
are
he's
gonna
doing,
go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, while you're doing that, what do you think, Protham?
Yeah, I think me for sure. I have him at my third.
Mm-hmm.
He also had a really big jump in efficiency. Um, but I mean, obviously, it's not as good as Jokic's. He's putting up an insane season. It would suck to be Embiid where like you're like the obviously like second best center in the league right now, maybe even like second, third best player in the league, but you're always going to be like behind Jokic as this like center. So it's kind of sucks, but he's still having a very underrated season. 33 points, I think, 10 rebounds on insane
Mm-hmm.
efficiency.
Yeah, I
Only
mean,
thing that's really holding him back, I think, in my eyes, is just his team's win.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
The
I mean,
Sixers have the 6th hardest schedule left in the league.
oof. So they might not get any higher in the standings either.
Mhm.
I think just what Protham was saying, Jokic is just kind of far ahead at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is there a possibility Embiid can come back though?
I think there is.
Maybe he's gonna have to put on a masterclass in these last 18, 17 games or whatever it is.
He is going to have to. I mean, you look at his stats, right? He led the league in points per game last year at, I think, around 30 or 31.
Yeah,
And
I
he's
think so.
upped that this year to 33 points per game on even better efficiency. He's at 64% true shooting, which is a career high for him. And I mean, his team is sixth in offensive rating, which is just a little bit behind the Nuggets, and they're ninth in defensive rating. So, like I said earlier, he's right in between Giannis and Jokic, and I think that's what hurts him so much is that he doesn't have one thing that he's clearly better than either one of them at. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, plus the
And
record is kind of what? Oh, I guess they're only like 4 games behind. Not bad.
yeah, I mean, 4 games this late into the season is kind of a big difference, especially because the Nuggets only have 19 losses, the 76ers have 22. So it's close.
Yeah, I don't think
Mhm.
the Sixers will jump the big 3 teams in record, but I think they would definitely be 3 seed going into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
I think you could say that. I just
Yeah.
don't think he can do enough over Giannis and Jokic at this point.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
But he is up there though, so he's worth talking about.
Yeah, I think he's definitely the third candidate. And I think practically there's nothing he can do. But if we're just talking about like what is like physically possible, I think if they go on a big win streak and they jump the Nuggets in standing, then I think it'll become a much more Giannis versus Embiid conversation.
That would be
Because
difficult.
yeah, it would be
Yeah.
very hard, but it's something that I could see happening. Maybe you get like I don't know, a hot streak or something. If they jump the Nuggets in standing, then I could see that being a much more serious conversation. But right now, Giannis is too dominant in defense, and Jokic is too dominant in offense for Embiid to have a really strong case for number one right now.
Yeah. Do you think obviously Embiid has injury issues, he always has.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of like get down last couple games of the season. They're pretty solidly the 3rd seed, and they just decide to rest them to try to get them the best they can for playoffs. That might hurt them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because even Embiid
I,
just came out and said, like, I don't care about MVP. I just want a championship. Which
mm-hmm.
I
I mean,
guess
think about it.
so.
You look at his teammate James Harden. He gets endless slander for like choking in the playoffs, not winning a ring, even though he's probably he might be up in like the top 10, 15 greatest regular season, like purely regular season players of all time, right? And people still
Mm-hmm.
disrespect him. So you look at, I mean, players would rather win a championship than an MVP. Teams would rather have a championship than an MVP because you make more money, you know? So they're absolutely going to rest him. And I think you're right. At this point, I think there's very low chance that Embiid wins the MVP just for purely
Mm-hmm.
practical reasons.
But even that might be the same thing with the Nuggets, because like the Nuggets have a lead on the West, so Jokic might go resting towards the end of the season, which I don't think that'll hurt Jokic as much as it would Embiid.
Yeah, especially because Embiid has a reputation for missing games, which as much as it shouldn't impact it because he's just resting easy ones, it still will, right? It'll make a difference.
Yeah. Um.
And yeah, the Cavs could still catch the Sixers, and if the Cavs beat the Sixers in standings, I think there's no way Embiid wins MVP. There's not even a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think another guy is Jason Tatum on the
Jason Tatum.
Celtics.
Oh yeah, I mean
He,
the
he
Celtics have the second best net rating in the league, so one of the best teams.
I don't know. I'm deciding between Jason Tatum and Embiid for my 3. I might put Jason Tatum up there.
Mm-hmm.
Um.
What makes you say that?
I mean, the Celtics are just a better team. He's putting up good stats. Well, I mean, he's averaging what, 30 this season
Yeah,
on
39-5.
on 55 from 2, 35 from 3. It is what it
86
is,
free
though.
throw.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, on both ends of the ball, I mean, he's like amazing at guarding wings.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at the Celtics stats, they're third in offense, fifth in defense, which is really reminiscent of the Sixers, where they're sixth in offense, ninth in defense. They're elite at both, but they're just better than the Sixers in both categories.
Yeah,
The only thing is you have to wonder how much of that is Tatum and how much of that is Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Al Horford, Robert Williams,
they do
Marcus
have a great
Smart.
team.
They
Yeah,
Yeah, I
definitely have
mean,
they definitely have the deepest team, I think, out of all the big 3. So
oh, absolutely. I think the Celtics have the deepest team in the league
yeah.
easily.
I mean, I
They're
think they
like,
took the Bucks to overtime without Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown playing. So
right. And do you think that hurts Jason Tatum's candidacy for MVP at all?
Um, I think
That's
it does personally because I mean he obviously can't put up as many points as say he would on the 76ers where he's like 1A and 1B and then there's no one really else. Here he really
Mhm.
can rely on the rest of his teammates, which really takes the load off of him. So his points per game would be lower. And honestly, I mean, I feel like that's enough to really just push him out of that big three conversation.
I agree with Pratham on that. That's why I'm taking Embiid over Tatum for MVP because I don't think I can give it to Tatum in good faith when he's got so many more like borderline all stars. I mean, I think Jalen Brown might have been an all star this year. He definitely has been in the past. And he's got so many other like Al Horford's a great role player. Robert Williams is probably my pick for DPOY last year. He's an amazing defensive player.
Mhm.
Marcus Smart was the DPOY last year, right? He's got so many of these guys,
Fake
and yet the
DPOY.
Celtics, yeah, fake DPOY. And yet the Celtics still have a worse record than the Bucks, who've been missing their second best player the whole season,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah,
I don't know. I think that hurts Tatum's case a bit.
I think it's kind of like I don't know. I agree with what you guys are saying, but also like if you watch the Celtics, you can see Jason Tatum is kind of the engine that keeps it rolling.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's still, I mean, he's a top 5 player in the league, and like he definitely shines on the Celtics, but he definitely does benefit from having so many good players around him.
Right.
Where Embiid has to more go out and get it himself, because who's he passing to? Daniel House.
Fuck Tobias Harris.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And I think the Celtics dominance is like a really it's also a very strong point for Tatum. Like that's an incredible team. So he definitely has some noise. Do you think he can win it? Like what can he do to win the MVP?
We were talking about games played and how the Nuggets and the Sixers might just start resting their guys down the stretch.
Mm-hmm.
With the Bucks and the Celtics so close in standings, and I know they have like the past couple years they've played them each other in the playoffs, right?
I
Mhm.
think so.
And it's been mostly home game wins. So you want to get home court advantage. How big do you think that's going to play into it? Like, do you think Bucks and Celtics are going to like play down to the last game with all their guys trying to get first seed?
I mean, hasn't Jason Tatum played 60 games already?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
exactly.
feel like
Mm-hmm.
he's a young player, doesn't really, he got that youngness in him.
Okay. Hold up.
So he's like, I feel like I don't think he's gonna sit out any games. I think unless he gets injured really badly, I feel like he'll stay. And I feel like that rivalry that they have between the Bucks and the Celtics, I guess, will really kind of force the Bucks to also play Giannis a lot more games than I feel like the Nuggets will have to play Embiid. I mean, not Embiid, Jokic. So I feel like that will really help both of them try to at least give them a chance to try to catch up with Jokic.
Yeah, and I think a really important thing to remember is that whoever gets that one seed avoids the 76ers in the second round, which I think is huge
Oh,
because this is really
yeah,
a three-team
that's
East.
even more lucrative than home court. Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about that.
Yeah, because I mean, talk about how elite the Bucks and the Celtics are all day. Nobody wants to see the Sixers in the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
You've got James Harden who might turn it up in any given game, right? He's still capable of dropping 40. And then Embiid, one of the best offensive players in the league. You want to play him. So I think that's going to be a huge factor pushing the Celtics to play Tatum more and more.
If you're the Bucks, would you rather play the Sixers or the Cavs in the second round?
I say the Cavs. I know matchup wise, the Sixers aren't equipped to really guard Giannis, but you just got to look at the team and you see that the Sixers are a better team and a more experienced team than the young and up and coming Cavs.
Yeah.
So,
I just remember that conversation we had off
mhm.
podcast about the Cavs. And I know they're not like I mean they're all right, but like I could see the Cavs doing some serious damage in the
Oh,
playoffs
absolutely.
just because of all the guys I have and Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland.
Yeah, I mean their defense is incredible. They might be the number one defense in the league right now. Let me fact check myself really quick. They're the number one net rating in the league, which
Oh
is
wow.
incredible. Yeah, I didn't even realize that. And they're the second best defense in the league. So nobody wants to see the Cavs in the playoffs. But I still think when you just weigh in experience and everything, you're still going to want to push to see the Cavs rather than the Sixers in the second round.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think their inexperience really makes them less like scary to teams.
Yeah. So steering it back to the MVP, I think that whole conversation about the games played, I think that is Jason Tatum's biggest argument. If they really push to play a lot of games and grab that 1 seed in the last part of the season, if he's played maybe 70, like 72, 73 games compared to Embiid's like 60 and Jokic's like 63, 64, I think that could make a big difference in the MVP case, but I don't know if it'll be enough to give it to him over Jokic. It might push him up to the 3 or the 2 spot though.
Yeah, it would be difficult. There's a chance Jason Tatum could win it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just think if the Celtics like are gunning for that 1 seed, and the other guys start resting, and Jason Tatum just goes like on a tear, people might be like, plus with a little bit of voter fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But even then, I don't know. Nuggets are just very good.
It's definitely theoretically possible, but I think we can all agree that it's very unlikely.
Yeah, definitely.
So the last guy that we want to talk about today, Pratham, you want to go and talk about him first?
Ja Morant.
Yeah, so I mean, the last guy we all have is Luka. Insane player. I think stats wise, out of all the players, me personally, I feel like his stats are the most just numbers wise crazy.
It's him or Jokic for sure.
Yeah. 33, leading the league in scoring, 33, 9 and 8. His efficiency has gone up, first time shooting above 50% field goal percentage. His only thing that's really pushing him back is just his team, really. They haven't really built around him that well. His stats are, I mean, like I said, amazing. But if he just could string a few more wins, I think he'd have a lot stronger chance. He's what is he right now? The 6th seed? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And actually 0 games ahead of the play-in. It's only through tiebreaker that he's out of the play-in right now.
I mean, he could. I mean, looking at the stands, where could the Mavericks realistically end up? I guess 4 through 10.
Yeah, the West is so close that they can end up.
I don't think they can break into the Kings. Kings are too far ahead.
Yeah, I don't think so either. The Kings would have to go on a loss streak.
I think realistically, the highest they can jump up is 5.
Yeah, so plus Suns are going to be even better now.
Yep. And all the teams ahead of the Mavs have been better in their last 10 than the Mavs have, which is very, very it's kind of upsetting or not upsetting. I don't know the word for it, but after the Kyrie trade, that's not good news, right? Because you want a big blockbuster trade to make you go on a nice win streak, and that just hasn't happened for the Mavs right now.
Yeah. I mean, just record-wise, I don't think he's going to get it, but he has had a great season. What did he start out averaging this season? Like the first 30 games, wasn't it like 36 or 35 or something?
It was something insane.
It was an incredible amount.
I know it's dropped off, but especially with Kyrie there.
Yeah, and I mean, you can't give an MVP to a play-in team. I don't think that'll ever happen, right?
Not, no.
Yeah. And I think even in like the most ideal scenario, I don't think Luka's going to be able to win MVP this year. But with the incredible season he's had, he definitely deserves just the recognition, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, you look at their team; they've got the 5th best offense, right? I'd say largely, if not entirely, due to Luka, and they've got the 24th. They've got the 24th defense in the league, which again is largely due to how bad Luka is on defense. And I mean, the rest of their team isn't exactly defensive studs either, but they've got some decent defensive players, and their defense is still terrible because they've got to plan around Luka, which kind of makes it hard to give him that edge.
Yeah.
And then to wrap it up, we've got the 3 seed in the West, the Kings, right? I think that according to Basketball Reference, Domantas Sabonis is the next highest MVP candidate. We're discounting James Harden because he plays with Embiid. And I don't think there's any way Sabonis wins the MVP, but just a nice shout out to throw in there. Kings making the playoffs for the first time in like 20 years, I believe.
I don't know. They still might fall out. Who knows?
It's possible. Hopefully they don't.
No, that would be sweet. Do you think the Kings can kind of like do something in the playoffs?
I hope they do.
I don't think anybody like wants to see the Kings, but if you're like, would you rather see the Kings or the Suns? I'd rather see the Kings.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just think about playoff experience, right? You've got Kevin Durant, Chris Paul. You don't want to see those guys.
Who on that team even has playoff experience? Oh, Domantas Sabonis does.
Does he? Has he made the playoffs with the Pacers? Oh yeah, once I
Yeah.
think, once or twice.
Yeah.
He got swept by the Heat in 2020, and he might have made it in 2021, but I don't remember.
and wait, and 18. I'm pretty sure.
Really? Okay. Was that against LeBron?
LeBron, they got 7 games and 18.
Really? I
Yeah, it
didn't know
was.
Sabonis was on the
It
team
was
then.
because
I see.
Got traded for.
it was Oladipo. I remember Oladipo. That was Oladipo all NBA third team year,
Yeah.
and he was in that trade too.
But yeah, I definitely hope the Kings can make some noise.
Yeah. But I mean, like, their team is, I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot more scarier teams out there that aren't as high as things on the standings. Like, what
Yeah.
team would you rather face, the Clippers or the Kings?
Oof. I mean, with how they're looking lately, maybe the Clippers.
Oh, that's
But
true. Yeah.
I'd
The
say
star power.
Kings.
I don't know. That's a close one. The Clippers do have the star power, and you never want to face a healthy Kawhi, no
Mhm.
matter what.
Yeah.
I know the Clippers kind of been skidding, but like I don't think anybody wants to see the Clippers in the playoffs.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. So there's a lot of teams I think that the Kings are beating right now in the regular season, but just playoff wise.
They're moving in the right direction. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. They might get more MVP noise in following seasons.
They're definitely
I think-
like team basketball.
Mike Brown, Coach of the Year.
Oh yeah, I could see him winning.
Yeah. Okay. I think that wraps up our MVP conversation.